Well, let's start with this. Prices have gone up.
Why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done. And as a woman, there's a balance to be struck between being tough and being a bitch. Turn that off.
The New York Post today had a story about Sunny Hostin. Actually, I should say yesterday. I posted it up yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to talk about it till today. There was the New York Post. This is one of New York's newspapers. Judging from the red that you see around New York Post, it's more conservative. I believe at one point it may have been connected to Rupert Murdoch, if I'm not mistaken. The Daily News tends to swing more liberal, while the New York Post tends to swing more conservative. Those were our two newspapers. Of course, nowadays, nobody really buys the newspaper anymore because, we have smartphones and, a lot of people, some of these people don't even know how to read, honestly. But the thing about it is they've steadily pushed their app. And I've noticed that the New York Post has been way more prevalent lately on the internet than the Daily News, the New York Daily News. But anyway, they were talking about the View star Sunny Hostin deletes her X account, goes after Elon Musk amid controversial white women comments. Now, first of all, if any of you have been watching The View, you pretty much noticed that The View has absolutely come under attack because of, the one-sidedness, the bias. And, they were pumping Kamala Harris the entire time. They were doing everything they could to demonize Trump. They were calling, he's a threat to democracy and blah, 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 blah. And of course, the hilarious thing about these news media organizations all being on the same page. You had The View, which is basically Disney, that's ABC. You've got CBS, you got NBC, and then you have MSNBC. What did they do in Howard? You remember, what was it, Howard Stern's movie? NBC, WNBC, MSNBC, NBC. But anyway, all of these people are working together, and all of them were doing their best to suppress Trump's rallies, to suppress Trump's message. They were doing everything they could to ignore him. And that really started pretty much around January 6th of 2020, I believe. And basically all of these news media organizations, as well as the techno organizations such as Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all of them were working together in order to force us into one direction of news. So, for the most part, when I use the term techno-fascist, that's what I'm talking about. It's not just, just the social medias. It's also the news media because it's so technologically based. I mean, they're getting you on your cell phone. They're getting you on your watch. They're getting, you're listening to this shit all day. They're force-feeding you information constantly. Somebody was trying to argue with me as to whether or not the left can be fascist. Oh, absolutely. The left has been exhibiting fascist behavior. The exact same stuff that they've been accusing Trump of, they themselves are guilty of it. I don't even need to go back to COVID quarantines and talk about all of the information suppression, the threats that they were making against people and their jobs. That is, the government doesn't have a right to force you to do anything. The government does not have a right to force you to put anything in your body at all. They don't have that right. But what these people were doing is they were using the government to enforce their will on us. They were using the government as running interception, so that the private sector would have no choice but to force us to make a choice to say either you had to get a vaccine or you had to stay home. So no, These people have exhibited fascist tendencies. I could go on and on and on and talk about it, but that's not the point of what I'm talking about right now. But the point is, yes, the left has absolutely exhibited fascist tendencies. The left has absolutely exhibited techno-fascist tendencies where they do their best to silence you on the internet. If you speak up against them, they do their best to dox you on the internet. You know, these people are pathetic. And after I saw what happened with these protesters in these colleges, these kids protesting in colleges. Now, keep in mind, by the way, you know me, I was calling for the elimination of TikTok a long time ago because I felt that you get rid of TikTok, it would cut down on all these pathetic quiches who are making these stupid videos, these anti-male videos, and maybe, force them to just go back to work, nobody listening to what they're saying. But the thing about it is, Congress had no spine. Congress let TikTok sit around. I want you to notice, however, when Israel was bombing Gaza and they had all those videos on TikTok and they were claiming that it was radicalizing the students here, all of a sudden now TikTok is enemy number one. So they still didn't do anything about TikTok because somebody, I don't know how much money ByteDance is paying our Congress people under the table. It must be millions of dollars or putting into their campaigns. I have no idea how much money ByteDance is paying, but they somehow avoided getting TikTok canceled. What my point is when these kids spoke back up against that, what did they do? They started literally doxing these kids. They were literally buying vans and they were showing the kids, the students, these are students, they were showing student photos and they were doxing these kids. And that's like, you know what? I'll just say it like this. If any of those kids had used their Second Amendment rights to go up against them, people who were doxing them, I wouldn't have shed a tear. So you understand what I'm saying. But anyway, my point is the left, for the longest, for at least the last 4 years, they have been exhibiting fascist tendencies. And it really started to turn, I'll say, when Elon Musk bought Twitter. Now, originally, I was like, man, that's a stupid choice. Why are you spending money to buy Twitter? Elon Musk bought Twitter. At first, I thought he was just going to use it, to hype Tesla or to hype SpaceX. I thought he was just going to use it for his own personal propaganda. Turned out that what he ended up doing, I heard some liberal basically say that what he did was he created it to be a gore porn site, a gore/porn site. And then when I really think about it, Encyclopedia Dramatica used to be one of my favorite channels, despite the gore, the porn, the racist, all that stuff. It was still one of my favorite channels. It was a favorite go-to to start reading because it was funny. It was all satire, but it was hilarious. They did their best to shut down Encyclopedia Dramatica. Encyclopedia Dramatica was gone. Then I was looking for another channel to find uncensored video and to basically see uncensored thought and uncensored comments. I found a site called Best Gore. Best Gore got shut down for the exact same thing. Basically, they did their best to go after these sites. Even if they were offshores, they did their best to go after these sites and shut them down. So here's the thing. Now you're up against Elon Musk. Elon Musk bought Twitter. The libs knew from the moment that he bought Twitter, they knew that they were going to start having problems because by that time they realized Elon Musk was basically a conservative. He was turning Republican, and they knew that they were going to have a problem. Once Elon Musk showed them his ass and really, 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 really said, yeah, you're screwed, and he turned back on Trump's Twitter and allowed Trump to have a platform again, that's when I think some of them probably knew. They were like, yeah, we're in trouble now. Because they were doing their best. They were ignoring all of Trump's rallies. Now, I want you to think back. When Trump was doing his rallies back in 2015, 2016, when he was running for president the first time, they were basically giving him free press because it was good for the views. It was good for the ratings. So they were basically giving him free press. All of these news medias, with probably the exception of Fox and maybe OAN, they all got together and said, yeah, we're not going to cover them. We're not going to talk about anything. If it's negative and it looks like it'll hurt them, that's what we'll run. But if it's positive or if it's neutral, we're not going to show it. So they did their best to ignore this man. Now look, the guy's on Twitter. You've got people nonstop on Twitter talking about it. So it's in your face, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Stories that they tried to bury, like Hunter Biden's laptop, all of a sudden now it's at the surface. Then on top of that, you've got these people on YouTube who've got their own channels, like Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly has more subscribers on her YouTube channel than The View has on their YouTube channel the last time I checked. Then you got Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan, I would say he's kind of center of the road centrist. But the thing about it is, if you speak up against the libs, the liberals, the left, whatever you want to call them, if you speak up against them, they consider you right away to be a right-winger. And Piers Morgan, from what I've seen, is not a right-winger. He's just British, and he doesn't sound the way you expect him to sound, especially if he's criticizing you. So you got Piers Morgan, you got Megyn Kelly, you've got Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was actually more left of center, but because Joe Rogan's a white male and he's bald and he allowed Trump on his show, and some people acted like he didn't allow Kamala on his show, which that's not true. See, the problem is Kamala basically wanted everybody to come to her. Now, to some extent, I can kind of understand that because Secret Service is not just going to let you just go any and everywhere. I can kind of understand the logic behind, yeah, you come to me, I can't come to you. I can kind of understand that. The thing about it is, when you're campaigning and you're behind, which at this point, I don't know if she knew she was behind or not, because, these people were lying to the whole public. So I really don't know if any of them actually knew that she was behind, because they had their heads so far up their asses that they were sniffing teeth. So whether they knew or realized that she was behind or not, I don't know. But the reality is, she was behind. She should have gone on every single major popular podcast that she could possibly go on. Here's the thing, though. I don't think any of that would have mattered, honestly. When you look at that electoral map, I know the vast majority of those people who were on those electoral maps voting, I'm pretty sure most of those people do not watch these podcasts. They probably have a different podcast they watch, but I'm pretty sure the main thing on their mind was the economy. To some extent, the second thing on their mind was probably not just the economy, but to some extent, it was probably illegal immigration. But for the most part, I really don't think Kamala could have won no matter what she did. I mean, the woman had over $1 billion and she ended up $20 million in debt and lost. From what I saw, Hillary Clinton had spent over $800 million and lost. So, the bottom line is these people were imperfect candidates and it just wasn't going to happen. But Sonny Hostin, what I've noticed is all these leftists, they refuse to criticize Kamala Harris. They refuse. Sonny, she comes on there, it's racism, it's sexism, it's misogyny, it's incels in their basement, blah, 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 blah. Bottom line is, you have to meet the people where they are. If you're just going to talk about them and label them and this, that, and the other, that doesn't win an election. I heard a lot of people say the same thing. It's like, apparently calling us names and labeling us, apparently that doesn't win an election. Yeah, the answer is no, it doesn't. So all they're doing is circular firing squad. But what they refuse to do is they refuse to blame Kamala Harris. They'll blame everybody else. They refuse to blame Joe Biden. They refuse to blame Kamala Harris. They refuse to say, Kamala, you wasted a lot of your campaign money. They won't say that. They don't say, Mr. President Biden, when Trump's comedian said that joke about Puerto Rico being garbage, that should have been our chance to grab votes. And that should have been our chance to use that against Trump. But Biden coming out and saying, yeah, the Trump supporters, they're the real garbage. It's like, I've never seen what should have been a curb stomp gaffe that could be used against one person. I've never seen it turned around so quickly to be used against the people who should have been able to use it. Like, Biden really did a damage to Kamala's campaign with that Puerto Rico, that garbage controversy. And then Donald Trump, being smart, which is crazy when you think about it, he got out in front of that comment, and the guy's driving around in a freaking garbage truck wearing a garbage vest. If there's ever a history book that takes all these images and compiles them, I'd be really interested to see what that history book would look like. But this man, what should have been a comment that hurt his campaign, ended up being flipped 180 degrees to hurt the other person's campaign simply because Biden couldn't keep his mouth shut. It's just amazing how the Dems, the left, they refuse to criticize them. Every single time you turn on one of their shows, the first thing they say is, oh, well, first things first, Kamala ran a hell of a campaign. She only had like 140 days. And I'm like, all of y'all are saying the same thing. So I'm guessing they must have sent out a notice or something to force you to all say the same exact thing. But you're gaslighting us. None of what you're saying is true. She ran a terrible campaign. She wasted $1 billion. $1 billion wasted. Now, granted, she provided, money to all the people who, did stuff for her campaign. And she, some of these people had, I heard that she had people going door to door knocking. Hey, guess what? It's 2024. We've got smartphones. We got email. You don't send people knocking on people's doors. It's like when people come to my house, you got Jehovah's Witnesses. You got the Church of Latter-day Saints. You got, who are these people? Solar salesmen trying to sell you solar power. You got these guys from Verizon Fios. You got these guys from Comcast. I don't want you coming to my front door. I really don't. And now you're telling me you're coming there for political reasons? You're trying to get me to vote? It's like, listen, there's other ways to do this. Now, if you want to drop a flyer or something, okay, that's one thing. But, there's other ways to do this. But, the Harris campaign was poorly run. They burned through $1 billion. But there's some people who refuse to criticize. Sunny Hostin's one of them. So let me get to the story real quick. It says she's never been shy in sharing her opinion, but now Sunny Hostin has one less platform to do it on. The View co-host has confirmed she deleted her X account in the wake of Donald Trump's presidential election win, saying she believes it was a patriotic act. Oh, my God. Hostin is 56. Made the admission on the Behind the Table podcast earlier this week, saying she no longer wants to be associated with the site because it's owned by avid Trump supporter Elon Musk. Now, on that note, a lot of people on the left, and this is going to lead into the next story because I'm going to be quick on this story, but these people think, I don't know if they think they're hurting Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is worth $250 billion. Like, there's virtually nothing you can do to hurt him. A lot of these liberals that went out and bought Teslas, they got stuck with them cars. They got stuck in those cars because they bought these things and they didn't realize who Elon was. And now, because of Elon's politics coming out, now they're determined, oh, I want nothing to do with Tesla. So I actually saw that they were selling bumper stickers for people who are stuck in those Teslas that say, yeah, I bought this Tesla before I realized Elon Musk was crazy. And I'm like, just because somebody's politics are a certain way, if you're that desperate to disassociate yourself from them, then, that's your choice. But it's like these people act like the world is like social media. These people act like all I got to do is hit the unfollow button. And I'll be perfectly honest, I'm guilty of it too. But the thing about it is it's mostly strangers that I'll do it to. Like if I'm online and I've got somebody who's griefing me and typing stupid comments under my comments to attach to my comments, I don't tolerate that at all. I usually just block them. Like if I post something and then they say something that just gets under my skin. It's like, you know what? I'm not even going to argue with this person. I'm just going to block them. Because after all, this is a stranger. This is a person I don't know. For all I know, it might even be a bot. It might not even be a real person, considering what the bots are like now. Because they have bots putting comments in order to make it look like there's a certain level of interactivity and engagement when there really isn't. And sometimes I see that a lot. Like if I make a video about the economy, or if I make a video about the stock market, all of a sudden there's like one comment that'll pop up, and then there's a chain of other comments that pop up behind that comment. And you could tell that it's like, wait a minute, these are bots. This isn't real people. But the thing about it is what I'll usually do is I'll just delete it and I block the original sender, and that'll stop them from doing it. So it's like a lot of times I just don't feel like arguing, because the thing about it is there's 8 billion people in the world. And if even a quarter of them decide to start griefing you on the internet, it's like you literally run out of time in your life trying to fight these people and argue it. It's no point. There's just no point. But it says, I think the most patriotic thing I could do right now is just delete the account. Yeah, well, you've lost everything. You lost the POTUS, you lost the SCOTUS, you lost the COTUS, and you lost with the popular vote, and you also lost with the electoral vote. So basically, yeah, you're right. There's really nothing much else you can do. You've lost everything. You know, the Democrats, like, I think they're done. I think that they're going to have to reform this party. And chances are the next time around, all of the LGBT and the trans this and that, all of that stuff, all that is going to have to be swept to the side, because the far left extremists had basically hijacked these corporate Democrats, and the mainstream Democrats wanted nothing to do with that agenda at all. So when Sonny Hostin comes out and says, yeah, we lost a lot of people to the couch, yeah, you are right. There's a lot of people who refuse to vote for Kamala, and there's a lot of people who refuse to vote for Trump. Now, I have total respect for the people who refuse to vote for Trump. If that's their choice, that's their choice. I have total respect for the people who refuse to vote for Harris, too. But the Democrat Party really needs to do introspection, because if they couldn't convince people to vote for Kamala Harris, then obviously they weren't doing a good enough job. And I'll say they weren't doing a good enough job for the last 3 years. Kamala Harris was barely in the public. She obviously didn't learn anything being a politician as the vice president. And you know, it's like when I hear people talk about how qualified she is, first of all, the mere fact that she was given the vice presidency by Biden, it's like the only thing she's qualified for is to take over if something happens to Biden and become the president that way. But she didn't earn that. She really didn't earn that. Just being in the right place at the right time, that's usually not enough. And this election basically showed it. It's almost like she didn't learn anything. It's like at a certain point, you think that some of the political manners and mannerisms, you'd think you'd have learned some of that stuff. She didn't. Hillary Clinton was a better politician than Kamala was. And Hillary Clinton wasn't really in politics until I believe she was Secretary of State, if I'm not mistaken. Now, her husband had been in politics, and she probably learned a lot from him, Bill Clinton. He was a governor. He was president for a full 8 years. And I'm pretty sure she learned a lot from him. Now, and my thing is, she was a better politician, and Kamala wasn't, which is weird, because Kamala was in a better position than Hillary as the vice president. She was the vice president. It's just very strange. Like, and it's funny because Kamala Harris is the first female vice president, but it really doesn't feel like it was like, oh, this is legendary, this is historical. It was like, yeah, she swore in and everything, but it's like nobody cared. And then her vice presidency was obviously so lame that they refused to vote her in as president. Now, I'll say this. The only way that they could have probably turned this around was maybe a year ago if Biden had stepped down, if Biden had groomed Kamala to be president, and then he said, yeah, I'm resigning because I'm old. And then he just stepped out. Everybody thought that's exactly what was going to happen. They were saying it during the Democratic nomination conventions back in, 2019. They were saying exactly that. They were like, are you sure you want to pick Biden? This man is old. They were like, oh, yeah, well, we've got this younger woman. So if anything goes wrong with him, he'll step down. In fact, if you think back, they were doing the same thing to McCain-Palin. They were like, yeah, John McCain is old, and Sarah Palin would be a 80-something-year-old man's heartbeat away from the presidency. They were saying the same thing back then. So it's not like this is new. And it's funny because John McCain lived all the way to the end of Obama's presidency, and then he died. So my thing is, it's like, we expected Biden to step down and to let Kamala be the president. But see, these Democrats, they don't play chess. They don't think that way. Like, they're determined to hold on to power for themselves. And they just don't think that way. They just don't. And that's why they lose. And they lose horribly. Says Elon Musk took it over. I feel like he ruined it. She stated on the platform formerly known as Twitter, Black Twitter was a thing that I loved, and it was sort of replaced with misogyny and racism. First of all, nobody replaced Black Twitter. First of all, there's no such thing as Black Twitter. That's number one. There's some black people on Twitter. If y'all really wanted a Black Twitter, then what you should do is make an app and make it called Black Twitter. You can make a bird and paint the bird black, and you be on that. What these people were determined to do was they were determined to stay on Twitter and to antagonize the right. And I won't say that that's not true about the right. The right is on Twitter to antagonize the left. The thing about it is being owned by Elon Musk makes the right feel as if this is theirs. So my thing is, if these lefties can't handle that, just leave. It's like going to a party and nobody wants you there. It's like, you're going to really stay here and these people don't want you, just leave. And while you're at it, how about you use some of that money that y'all got and make a new Twitter? Make a Black Twitter. You could make a Twitter called Black Twitter. You could make it something called something else, whatever. And if you want to get on there and you want to be on there and talking shit, you can do that. But they felt as if Twitter would belong to them. It's like, nah, it doesn't. It just doesn't. And that's just what it is. So, and I know there was some people say, yeah, well, yeah, I'm not going to let Elon Musk force me off. It's like, yeah, well, this is his now. So if he decides to shut you down, yeah, he could do that. Now I know he enforced payment options and this, that, and other in order to get verified and all that. So he's like, yeah, if you want to be verified, you're gonna pay up, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's his shit. He can do whatever he wants with it. So me personally, I love X. I go anytime I want to see some uncensored something, I go right on X and poof, just pops right up. Uncensored. There you go. I hate being on Facebook. I hate being on Instagram. And because of the censorship, I'm not happy about YouTube either. And that's the reality. So Twitter, X, I hope Elon Musk makes himself a YouTube competitor. And hopefully, if he keeps it uncensored, it's like maybe it'll pay out better than YouTube does. Because the YouTube payouts are not what they used to be. In order to really get paid out on YouTube, you kind of have to do what I'm doing, and you have to get sponsors. And you've probably noticed that I make a lot of videos. I've got all of these earphones, and I've got jump starters for my car, and I've got car parts and all types of shit. It's so funny to me. I've got Chinese manufacturers I swear to God, I wake up every single morning. I've got Chinese manufacturers emailing me left and right, asking me, "Oh, do you want to collaborate? We'll send you a free sample. You can put this. You can keep the free sample. You put this video on your channel, and we want you to demo our product." The American companies don't do that. It's like as many cars as I bought from Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Man, they don't call you. They don't ask you anything. They don't offer you anything. Like, I know there's some people who get invited to test drives, and there's some people who got invited to what are those things? They got invited to track days in Texas and all that shit. And they even, like, for example, like here's my thought, and I'll just say this really quickly because I want to move on. It's like, I've owned a bunch of your cars. I'm an electric vehicle owner now. If you were going to reach out to people who are moving away from your product and they're moving towards electric vehicles, like, you could call me, but they don't do that. So the thing about it is, these Chinese manufacturers, they absolutely do reach out to me, and they offer me plenty of stuff. Like, I've got so much free stuff from them. I mean, I've gotten lots and lots of stuff from them. They're awesome. And the thing about it is, it's like, that's how you really make your money on YouTube. It's like you've probably noticed that a lot of the videos have products attached to the video, and you get commission when people buy those products and everything. You get a small % commission. My thing is, it's like, that's how you have to make your money now because of all the censorship that's going on. And the censorship has cost everybody money. Like, you've probably noticed, your favorite YouTubers, they don't make videos as much anymore. It's like the financial incentive has gone down. They don't even send out appropriate notifications anymore. But that's what you've got. Like, I remember back in 2020, people were saying the same thing. It's like, yeah, YouTube went woke, and now they're going broke. And they cost Google a lot of money, a lot of revenue, and that's just it. So I do what I got to do. It's like, I continue to use this platform for tax advantages. I continue to use it in order to, get sponsorships and whatever. And it's, it's good money, and I save a lot of money because I don't have to buy a lot of stuff. It's like, a lot of times I don't have to buy stuff at all, and I just wait for stuff to just come in the mail. And it just comes in the mail, and I make a video about it, and that's it. But I hope X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, I hope X will go in that same exact route. Hopefully the manufacturers will look and say, hey, you know what? There's a lot of people on Twitter. There's a lot of people on this X thing. Let's get on there, and we're going to, push our products. We're going to find out who the influencers are. We're going to push our products there. YouTube is still huge for right now, but one of the things that history always shows us is nothing lasts forever, and there's always a competitor who comes along and eats your lunch because you've lost your way. So that's just the way it is. But some of these people can't handle that. People like Sunny Hostin right here, she can't handle that. She's determined that if she can't have her way, she's not going to stay on it. And yeah, listen, that's your right. If you want to leave, fine. Says Hostin was trolled on the social media site last week after she blamed uneducated white women and Latino men for Trump's victory. I think Trump's victory had nothing to do with policy. I think this was a referendum on cultural resentment in this country. She stated during the episode of The View recorded the morning after Election Day. Why do you think uneducated white women voting against their reproductive health freedoms, and why do you think Latino men voted in favor of someone who's going to deport a majority of his community? Really? I don't think white women like being called uneducated white women. Co-host Alyssa Farah Griffin snapped back. Hostin later corrected herself to say the term she should have used was non-college educated white women. Isn't that the same damn thing? Uneducated white women, non-college educated white women. Isn't that the same thing? Now, I remember when Trump was standing up there, this man literally said to everybody, I love the poorly educated. This is why you lose. Because here you got this guy. This guy is basically doing stand-up comedy. He's doing stand-up comedy. He's a stand-up comedian. He's reading the audience. Y'all are just talking. And you're sitting there talking and out of your ass just talking. And you're making all of these labels for people. You call people uneducated and oh, non-college educated and all this. It's like y'all are talking to people as if they're nothing more than numbers. See, that's why you lost. That's part of the reason why you lost. You got Trump literally up there drawing a fine line. I like these people. I don't like these people. And the people who he doesn't like, oh, these people are rapists, murderers. They don't send their best. They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the pets of the people who live here. It's like, you ain't going to beat that. You're just not going to beat that. I don't know who's going to come after Trump, but the reality is the pendulum is going to end up swinging. I hope I'm dead long before that shit happens. But eventually you're going to have Generation Z, and they're going to have the power of the vote over millennials. And eventually what's going to end up happening is they're going to vote somebody in who's going to be horrible. Like everything that you are afraid of right now, that's what they're going to vote for. Like, I can't even imagine what they're going to vote for, but it's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. I don't want to see it, honestly. I really don't. You know, this country is going to go right down the toilet one way or another, and it'll be these kids of the kids who do it. And, you know, it's just gonna be horrific when you see who's running for. And they'll always point back and they'll always blame Trump, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, well, it wasn't until Trump that we lost all sense of presidential decorum. They'll say some stupid shit like that, but the reality is it's like it was going down anyway. You know, when an airplane loses its wings, it's like, yeah, you're going to crash. Everybody's going to die. The only thing you can do is change the angle of impact. That's how bad this situation is. All you can do is change the angle of impact. Yeah, but anyway, so that's the Sunny Hostin story. It says, yeah, still Hostin came under fire from many on X. She is a bitter, miserable, hateful woman. One of the X users raged. So Sunny is willfully ignorant and biased, another posted. People like her have built a lucrative career based on identity politics. And there you see The View and all that right there. So basically, that was just one of the stories that I wanted to talk about. The other story is obviously related to this, in fact.
Challenge with the idea of how do you interact with people who you know voted for this, right? If you are an LGBTQ person and you know someone in your family voted essentially against your rights, or you're a woman knowing that, you know, this man was calling people the B word. J.D. Vance was literally calling Kamala Harris the trash and said, we're going to take out the trash. I know a lot of Black women were incredibly triggered by that. And if you then meet somebody and you know they voted for the people who called you trash, or if you're Puerto Rican, you know, and you know someone voted that way, do you recommend, just from a psychological standpoint, being around them? We got the holidays coming up.
All right. So in not very long, just 2 weeks, we'll be at Thanksgiving. And The View also, because this seems to be where a lot of this nonsense is coming from, strangely enough. It says The View co-host agrees with advice to cut off pro-Trump family at holidays. A moral issue for me. It says people feel that someone voted not only against their families, but against them and against people that they love. Okay, so let's just bottle this real quick. So yeah, Thanksgiving is in about 2 weeks, right? And then right after that, we're gonna have Christmas. I have a very long Christmas vacation. And the thing about it is, yeah, I'm going to be around family. Specifically, you know, Thanksgiving is coming first, and then you have Black Friday. Now, it used to be I would, you know, sometimes go with family on Black Friday, and we'd go shopping, and we'd, you know, buy up DVDs and stuff that were like $5 or whatever it was. Other than that, we get together and we'd have dinner at one of my family's houses, right? Now, for the most part, now what they're basically entertaining is the possibility of either you singling yourself out and not going to be with your family during Thanksgiving, or possibly not inviting certain family members over for Thanksgiving. Now, granted, there are some family members who are really sore winners, and there are some family members who are really sore losers. For example, I have to say, because of the fact that I had been saying that Trump was going to win, and I had been constantly saying it, and I had to get into arguments with people. Oh, yeah, well, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I've been arguing with people about Trump winning and going to, because what was I saying? I was saying, yeah, Trump's going to tear Biden apart when they do those debates. Then after the debate, I was like, yeah, you see, Trump won, Biden got destroyed. And then on top of that, when they switched Kamala in for Biden, I was saying, yeah, they just pulled a coup on Biden, and Biden would have ended up being Jimmy Carter Part 2 if they hadn't done it. Those are some of the things that I've said. I've said a lot. But, some of my family members, like, I've noticed that, group chats and stuff, I've noticed they've been a hell of a lot quieter ever since Election Day. They've been quiet as fuck. Like, you don't hear them. They used to be jubilant. Oh, yeah, well, I'm donating money to the Kamala Harris campaign and all that shit. I'm not making this up. They are quiet as kept. And what's so sad is that I think people, they put so much on the line. It's like they put so much emotional investment into the presidency. It's like, first of all, the presidency isn't even supposed to have this level of power over us where we really have to worry about who's president. Because you got to remember, back in the old days, like when you really look at the people who were elected president, for the most part, the people who were elected president, the only people who even really knew who the president was were basically rich, wealthy landowners and maybe some businessmen. The average worker in a field, they didn't know and they didn't care who the president was. But slowly and surely, over time, as the media grew and more people had access to newspapers and they could read and everything, over time, more people got interested in the presidency. And eventually the presidency became like, it became like a pop culture icon. I hate to say that, but that's basically what happened. The presidency grew the powers that it shouldn't have. And, like the war powers that the president has. It's like the Congress is supposed to be where all that stuff comes from. If the people vote for their representatives to represent them, they're expecting their representatives to represent them. They're expecting their representatives to vote for or against the things that they don't want. What they don't expect is presidents to unilaterally be able to carry on wars that they don't want, or to be able to carry on specific types of foreign policy that they don't want. And I think that too many, it's just like with this thing about Trump and deportation. I don't blame Trump for deportation, nor do I blame any other president for the deportation problem that we're about to have. But the reality is, I blame the Congress for that. All of this time, like, they were supposed to be doing their job. They were supposed to be making it so that people came into this country legally. This shouldn't be an issue. It shouldn't be an issue. It's like if a jail was letting prisoners escape, and you've got somebody running on, even though the prisoners escaped and everything, we're going to delay enforcement of, finding them and arresting them and putting them back in jail. It's like, wait a minute, you can't do that. Your job is to lock this person back up. You can't delay enforcement. But they kept coming up with shit. DACA. It's like DACA's freaking... That's against what your job is. Your job is to make sure that illegal immigrants don't come across the border. That's your job. Your job is to, if they do come across the border, you get them and you ship them right back. But that's not what they've been doing. So they've created a crisis, And now when you have somebody who focuses on the crisis and stands up against it, all of a sudden now they got a problem. Oh, they gonna deport your abuela. It's like, well, if your abuela is here illegally, then, hopefully, I hope the way it works is that they go after the criminals and gang members first. That's what I hope. If you have an abuela and she's been here, and she hasn't done nothing and she hasn't done anything illegally, okay, you know what, we'll save her for last. But really, that's not supposed to be how it's supposed to be done. The thing about it is, if I know that this person is here illegally and I'm at the head of this department, before I lay my head down tonight, I'm supposed to go get her and deport her. Period. That's how the job is supposed to be. But of course, that's not how it is, because these people, oh, well, you know what, she didn't bother anybody. So you know what, we'll get her last. And what ends up happening is you never end up getting her. It's like, my thing is, no, that's not your job. Your job is to get these people as they come up. It's like if you're given like an iPad and the person's picture pops up along with their whereabouts, you're supposed to go get them now. That's how it's supposed to work. We are a country of law and order, or at least that's what it's supposed to be. But these people, oh, well, no, but there's no humanity in it. It's like, yeah, there's no humanity in it. It's called the law. It's like, no, you're supposed to go do it. Go get it now. Go do it now. But no, that's not. They don't want to do that. But what they're saying is, oh, you shouldn't allow these people to be around you during Thanksgiving. Now, people already have enough issues with depression. People already have enough issues with loneliness, because you got to understand, during the holidays, and I don't know if they've done studies on this, a lot of these holidays, that's when suicide rates go up, So not being around the family and not being around the grandkids and not being around the kids and the cousins and all that, that can have some serious emotional impacts on some people. And what they're basically saying is, yeah, you shouldn't allow these people to come around you, or you shouldn't go around them. I mean, you're doing just as much damage saying shit like that to the person who singles themselves out and doesn't go around the family as you are to the person who gets cut out and doesn't get invited to whatever it is. I'm in a very unique position, for example. I'm a Trump supporter, obviously. I'm very vocal about it. I'm constantly proven right because these idiots keep losing elections to me, ultimately, and my predictions. And the reality is, everybody knows exactly where I stand, and everybody understands exactly what I've said and prophesied or whatever you want to say. But for the most part, I'm the one person you don't want to cut out because I'm the most capable among my generation. Most of my cousins, they can't do certain things. Like, they don't handle things well, or there's a lot of things. It's like I'm far more capable than just about anything to do just about anything. It's like I'm that type of person in your family. It's like, oh yeah, well, I need him because I need him to help me do this or that or whatever it is. So nobody's gonna cut me out of anything. People may not talk to me or whatever, but my thing is, it's like if you're allowing yourself to be emotionally invested in people you'll probably never even meet, because you're worried about policies that probably don't even affect you, it's like, yeah, you're pretty fucking stupid. And at that point, it's like, I'm not going to run. I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to single myself out. It's like, I come when called. I'm going to go wherever I go. And my thing is, it's like, when I go over people's houses, they'll be like, oh, let's not talk about politics. I'll be like, well, as soon as I walked in your front door, you've got a fucking gigantic goddamn 80-inch television and you're watching MSNBC. So if you don't want to talk about politics, then might I suggest you turn the channel? It's just incredible. It's like some people are either tone deaf or they're just fucking blind. Like, I just don't get it. But, again, the race for the presidency is over. Now people are feeling the sting of being on the wrong side. Kamala, you got to understand, it's just like with Hillary. A lot of these people showed up to those watch events, if you want to call them that. They thought it was just like Obama in 2008. Oh yeah, we're about to watch the first woman president. The first black woman president, the first woman president, the first Indian woman president. These people showed up to that shit just like they showed up to Hillary's. Not a single balloon fell. Not a single piece of that silly string or whatever, that, the stuff they put in the ceiling and they drop it, and none of that shit fell down. They never pushed that button. There were all those balloons deflated, and these people, like you saw them, these people were hurt. I mean, these people were hurt. So now it's coming up. Politics during the holidays. And it's actually really sad that November elections come right before the holidays, but that's what it is. So now you got the politics during the holidays. So these people are upset, and they're just going to have to be that way. It's just, I'm sorry, that's just what it is. Elections have consequences. So here, let me just say this real quickly. It says, after a psychologist made headlines arguing people should avoid Trump-supporting relatives this holiday season, The View co-host Sunny Hostin agreed. Of course she did. Saying many people feel someone voted not against their families, someone voted not only against their families, but against themselves, basically. It's like, listen, when I vote for Trump, I didn't vote against you. I voted against these motherfucking liberals and their policies that I didn't like, including specifically the economy, which I'm not happy about. I've got people in my family who are so arrogant that they will point, like if I say the economy's not doing good, these people will literally put, well, you're driving a brand new $80,000 Cadillac. It must be great. And I'm like, and I try not to argue sometimes. I'm like, wait a minute. Do you really believe that me being I'm very unique as a person. I got excellent credit. I got money in the bank. Do you really believe that the economy and how other people feel about the economy is based on me driving a new car? And I'm like, how arrogant is that to say? That's just stupid. It's like, it's arrogant, it's stupid, it's short-sighted. It's like, I'm not the type of person, I'm not a representative of the overall health of the economy. Let's say it like that. Like, for example, with the stock market. The stock market doesn't represent Main Street. The stock market represents Wall Street. You've got a handful of companies that are worth $1 trillion or more. And that's what's been pushing the stock market higher and higher and higher and higher. But when you look at the vast majority of the stocks, they're barely moving. Like they're not worth that much. They're not moving. They're barely moving. But you're busy looking at Dow 44,000 because Nvidia's worth 3-something trillion, Apple's worth 3-something trillion, Microsoft's worth 3-something trillion. It's like, that does not represent Main Street. That doesn't represent the regular people. But the level of arrogance I've seen. And then you've got rich people trying to tell poor people how they should feel. Poor people know what it feels like to go to the store and they see them bacon and eggs and milk, and that shit is going up by 10 or 50%. Like, I've seen bacon at like $10 a pack. I've seen the eggs go up to like $7 and stuff. And I'm not the type of person to buy eggs regularly. And I try not to buy eggs because I end up not using them right enough and they go bad. But these other people, a lot of these people, they cook regularly. They sense and see it as soon as the price goes up because they feel it. And for you to discount that, you're just setting yourself up for a loss. And the Democrat Party, when you think about the fact that they've got so many elitists that they could literally burn through $1 billion and still lose, the arrogance is just amazing to me. It's like these people are tone deaf. Bernie Sanders is actually, to his credit, Bernie Sanders has been talking about it. Yeah, the Democratic Party, they're tone deaf and there's too much corporate money and blah, 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 blah. Now, first of all, this guy's a communist, number one. No matter, it's funny, if you watch that movie, Oppenheimer, Leslie Groves accused Oppenheimer of being a communist. He was like, no, I'm a New Deal Democrat. He's like, no, you're a suspected communist. Okay, it's like, listen, you can try to use all these bullshit words, socialist party, you're a communist, okay? I'm sorry. But to his credit, Bernie Sanders did mention that. And he's like, yeah, these corporate Democrats ain't shit. And then it got so bad, Nancy Pelosi had to turn on Sanders. Oh, yeah, well, we'll respect to Sanders. He hasn't won anything. Well, he's still got his seat up there in Vermont or whatever it is. He's still got his seat, right? So it's, he can't win for president because the DNC got caught marginalizing him. When Hillary ran for president, I've noticed that just like right now, how they refuse to criticize Kamala Harris, they've also refused to criticize the role that Bernie Sanders played in stopping Hillary from becoming president. Bernie Sanders was a constant, loud, recognizable voice that people were paying attention to. And he was overshadowing Hillary Clinton. And a lot of people were being more attracted to Bernie's message than Hillary's. The DNC had no choice but to shut him down, marginalize him. And Hillary absolutely was not going to pick him to be vice president or to be her running mate. And when these younger people saw that, they were disgusted. And a lot of them refused to vote for Hillary and refused to come out. Hillary lost pieces of the vote that she should have gotten or would have gotten otherwise. It could be argued that Hillary lost to Trump specifically because she didn't pick Bernie Sanders as a running mate. Now, granted, if you're picking somebody to be a vice presidential running mate, you don't want them to be ridiculously older than you, and you also don't want them outshining you. I understand that and the logic behind picking a vice president, but it could be argued that had she picked Bernie Sanders, it could be argued she probably would have won, but she didn't. And that's what it is. The DNC marginalized Bernie Sanders, and they got caught doing it thanks to Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, if I'm not mistaken. It says, shortly after the election, Yale University chief psychiatry resident Dr. Amanda Calhoun spoke to MSNBC host Joy Reid. Now, if you haven't seen that already, yeah, that clip is there. I'll try to plug a little bit of it, but I don't want these idiots trying to come after me for YouTube copyright. But it says about liberals who are devastated by Trump's reelection can cope with the news, including separating from loved ones.
So I love that you asked this question because, there is a push, I think just a societal norm that if somebody is your family, that they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not. So if you are going to a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who have voted in ways that are against you, like what you said, against your livelihood, and it's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why, to say, I have a problem with the way that you voted because it went against my very livelihood and I'm not going to be around you this holiday. I need to take some
So there you are. That's basically the portion of the clip that I'm talking about. You can watch the rest of the interview on MSNBC if you so dare, because the bottom line is I'm only using pieces of it under fair use to just bolster my, reporting of what's going on. But it says there is a push, I think just a societal norm, that if someone is your family, that they're entitled to your time, and I think the answer is absolutely not. So if you are going to a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who you know have voted in ways that are against you, like what you said, against your livelihood, it's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why. You know, to say, I have a problem with the way you voted because it went against my livelihood, blah, 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 blah. Now, what's funny to me is the fact that most people, you go, you vote, nobody knows who you're voting for. It's a secret ballot, right? Nobody knows who you voted for. But see, what we have is we have people who put it in your face who they voted for. And granted, you have every right to wear Trump hats, MAGA hats. You have every right to wear or to put like one of those Biden, Harris and Harris Waltz stickers on yourself, your car, your lawn and all that. You have the right to, you have every right to do that. But for some reason, like, people feel it necessary to wear their political beliefs on their sleeves. Like me, you're not going to see that. When you see me, you see a gigantic black guy walking towards you, you're not going to know that I'm a Trump supporter. You're not going to know it. I don't give you anything to know who I support at all. I don't have any tattoos. I don't wear any fucking flags. I don't you're just not going to know. Some of these people really are toxic. I'll give them that. There are some people who feel it necessary to put it all up in your face. And, like, especially with these trucks, and you got flags and shit all over the truck, and they got the Second Amendment sticker, and they got the fucking, all types of nonsense. Like, they got all this stuff on there, and it's just, they just put it in your face. And then they act surprised when somebody keys their car or busts out one of their windows. Now, I'm not saying that, that's supposed to happen. That's not supposed to happen. But the thing about it is, you're triggering these motherfuckers. Well, see, the problem is people are too emotionally invested in these politics, and you're triggering these people. Like, I understand how to trigger these people. I don't do it for that very reason. It's like I try to avoid triggering these people. Like, I don't want to come back to my car's all scratched up. I don't want to come back to my car and a window's fucking knocked out of it. I don't feel like going through that because I understand the consequences of triggering these emotionally fucking, these emotionally unbalanced people. It's like, there really are some people you really should stay away from. And I'll agree to that extent. Like, there are some people, like, for instance, there's some of these women who have, like, mixed race kids. And, you might have that racist uncle or that racist cousin or that racist brother-in-law or whatever it is. Yeah, those are people you may decide that you want to stay away from, for your children, for their sake. I totally understand that. But however, that works both ways. You could be a conservative Trump supporting family, but you've got a flaming liberal who comes in with, the piercings, the wild color hairstyles, dressed terribly and all this. That works both ways. They come in there with a Kamala Harris sweater on and all that. So, and then they could, be saying things that you disagree with completely, or like you're a God-worshiping family and they're talking about atheism. Like, listen, I totally understand that. So to some extent, I really can't actually disagree with this idea. But what I can say is I think just people are just too emotionally involved. And I also think some people really need to take a step back and listen to just what other people are saying. Like, for instance, a lot of the Kamala Harris and, Waltz, there was really nothing to support there. But for the most part, most of these women were supporting Harris, or they're supporting abortion rights or whatever, or what they felt were abortion rights. Because as far as I'm concerned, there is no right to abortion. The Bill of Rights does not have a right to abortion. The Supreme Court's decision in Roe versus Wade, that was a opinion. And that's the reason why it was so easy to kick it back to the states. There is no right to abortion. And chances are there never will be, especially considering what it would take to get one. You'd have to have like 3/4 of the House, 3/4 of the Senate, and 2/3 of the state to do a constitutional convention. That shit ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. Even if Kamala Harris had gotten in there, I don't think she would have been able to do anything about the Roe versus Wade situation, because that's pretty much up to the Supreme Court. And definitely with Donald Trump there and Sonia Sotomayor's health failing, or, having problem with diabetes, chances are he's going to appoint another right-wing Supreme Court justice. So chances are it's going to be a while before you see most of these left agendas, especially involving the Supreme Court. You're not going to see any of that shit pass for a long time. But my thinking is, it's like they're basically trying to say that if if you voted for Trump, that you voted against gay rights, or you voted against abortion rights, or you voted against trans rights, or you voted against illegal immigration for the most part, which I think is funny, because when you try to type illegal immigration on Yahoo comments, they basically auto-censor you. They've literally made it impossible for you to type illegal immigration, which is part of the reason why I hate these people in the worst way. But rather than like show it to them, I'm a little bit more patient. You know what they say? They say the truly vindictive have the patience of saints. And I'll just wait you out. And when it comes time to vote for somebody who I know is going to be the axe in the back of your head, that's the person I'm going to vote for. So in this case, it was Trump. And this is part of the reason why. And you have to understand, even if even if I voted against Trump, it didn't really matter, because I was in New York anyway. My whole state went against him. But the thing about it is, the vast majority of the country voted for this guy. He got the popular vote. If you sat out the election, then you've got nothing to say, because you sat out and you didn't give your vote to Kamala. And that's your right, but the bottom line is you ain't got nothing to say, because you didn't say anything. When it was your chance to speak, you didn't say anything. The vast majority of this country, the electorate of this country, they voted for Trump. So what they were saying was, we're totally against all this bullshit that you're trying to force down our throats. And that was the popular vote. Now that's where I think that's what kills their arguments for the most part. The fact that not only did he get the electoral college, and by the way, the liberals were talking like crazy. Oh yeah, we got to get rid of the electoral college so that, whoever gets the popular vote should be the person who wins. In any normal country, whoever got the popular vote would win. But guess what? This guy got the popular vote too. So that kills your argument right there. He didn't just get the electoral vote, he got the popular vote too. Your argument is dead on arrival. I personally believe that it was the economy that did it. I think a lot of people, even though they were still disgusted after how they were treated under COVID quarantine, I really think that was brushed aside, and the thing that really drove people to the polls was the economy. When you think about it, younger people who normally would be able to buy a house before they're 30 or around their 30s, they can't even hope to do that, because they're chasing the price of inflation on property. They can't even hope to do that. And what wasn't bought up by the people was bought up by the corporations. So now these younger people are looking at being permanent renters for the rest of their fucking lives, because they have no idea if they'll ever be able to own anything. And they certainly can't get what they want now, because they have no way of affording it. The economy. Then you've got, you see Lucky Lopez, you see a bunch of these people talking about the automotive economy and how the automotive economy's got problems and everything. Interest rates are high on cars. Insurance rates are even higher on cars. So here you got these young people, they're entering their careers, and they're looking around, they're like, wait a minute, I've got to work twice as hard and I can't afford to buy anything I want. And you don't think that that's going to play a role on who they're voting for? Of course it is. Of course it is. You'd have to be arrogant and stupid to not realize this is what's going through their mind. But a lot of these wealthy people, they don't think like that. They thought, oh yeah, well, we'll just give Kamala $1 billion and she'll win. It's like, nah, it doesn't work that way. And that's the reason, and it's like the more and more I learn about the Constitution and how it's laid out, and the more and more you learn about how the rights that we have were set up, the more you learn, you're like, you know what? It wasn't perfect, but it's probably the best possible form of government that we've ever come up with. When you look at any of these other countries, they're not us. They don't, like, for instance, Australia, they can make it a fucking law that they can punish you if you misgender people or if you don't use pronouns. It's like, listen, I'm not using no fucking pronouns. And now that Trump's in office, I damn sure ain't using them. But I'm not the type of person you're going to hear use the term cisgender. It's like, I'm not saying that bullshit. I'm going to say regular men or regular women. I'm not using no fucking pronoun. It's not happening. It's just not happening. But in some of these other countries, they can literally, I think it's UK and Australia, if I'm not mistaken, the UK British people, like, they can't misgender, and it's like they make it like it's a crime or something. It's like, that's called the First Amendment. Problem is, we have it and they don't, and it's just like the Second Amendment. Over there in Australia, they were talking about, oh yeah, we're going to force you to hand over your guns and shit. Shit. You ain't getting shit from me. This Desert Eagle's going to stay cocked. It's going to stay clocked. It's going to stay cocked. It's going to be going click, click, clack. Whenever I feel like touching it, it's going to stay. Wait, hold on. One second. I got to prove my point right here. Hold on. One second. See, I got to prove my point. See, you Australians, y'all playing Counter-Strike and shit. It's like, I am Counter-Strike. You hear this? I want you to listen very carefully. Listen. Australians, UK people, I want you to listen to this. You hear that? You hear that? That's Second Amendment right there. You ain't got that. I do, because I'm an American. You ain't got that. You hear that? Click, clack. You hear that? But that's the thing. We've got rights. They don't. These people have been trying to take our rights from us, and they ain't going to do it. We're not going to let them. We ain't going to let them. We're not going to let them take our rights from us. We're not going to let them take our rights from us. No. But, it's like, this is probably the best form of government that you could possibly have. It really is. Representative democracy. This is not a democracy. This is a republic. That's what this is. It's a republic form where we elect our leaders to represent us. That's how it works. So they were talking all this nonsense about, Kamala's going to get in there and she's going to do gun buybacks and stuff and all. And we're never going to find out because it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. We're not letting that happen. It's not going to happen. It's just that simple. So, as far as this story goes, it's like, I could totally understand why some people feel that they need to disengage or that they need to disinvite or alienate certain people. I totally understand why. I just don't think it's the best way to go forward. I think maybe what these people need to do is take a step back from the politics, and they need to, maybe just talk to the people. Be like, listen, I believe in this, and I know you believe in that, but at the end of the day, we're just going to come together. We're going to have some turkey, But some of these people, it's like, that's just too much for them, and they just can't handle that. So, they got a problem. It's like, that's just what it is. Now, as far as me going forward, when I go over to families' houses, I already know what's going to happen. As soon as you walk through the door, okay, John, no politics, okay? It's like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll respect you that much. I'll respect your house that much. But the second you turn on MSNBC or CNN and the second you start talking that bullshit, I'm coming right out. And I'm going to be like, yo, listen, whatever it is, it's like as soon as you start, but I think some of them are smart enough not to, but it's like, listen, if I see Joy Reid's face, if I see AOC's face, you're going to trigger me and I'm going to start talking. It's just that simple. But that's what it is. So we're almost there. Thanksgiving is next week, Thursday. We're almost there. Just all you got to do is hold on. We're almost to Thanksgiving. We got Thanksgiving, we got Black Friday. Then we got to get through December. And it's amazing how quickly the month is moving. I have a lot that I have to do tomorrow. But, we're almost there. And all you got to do is just, just stay calm, stay cool, stay collected. And don't let these temporary people cause you to make permanent decisions. There's no point in destroying relationships over what should be temporary. Like, this is just dumb. Like, this stuff is mostly being treated as entertainment. A lot of this shit is not life and death. It's like, don't let these people are temporary. These people are going to be in office for a short time. It's like, don't let these temporary people cause you to make permanent, life-changing decisions and shit. So that's all I got to say right now. So, I don't know what the next video I'll make a deal build, but that's all I had to say for this one.
All day, every day, therapist, mother, maintenance,
How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
Merry Christmas, everybody. Church, I know we were born for a time such as this, and I have faith He is going to carry us forward, and the road ahead won't be easy. It will require perseverance and hard work, but in times of uncertainty, Scripture reminds us, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. The path may seem hard, the work may seem heavy, but joy cometh in the morning. And church, morning is on its way. God bless you. God bless America.
Let us be clear. Contrary to what my opponent is suggesting, I will never tell you what kind of car you have to drive.
Will everyone have to drive electric cars?
Well, by my plan, by 2045, we will have basically zero emission vehicles. Only 100%.
Want to hear the most annoying sound of the world?
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yeah, I hear that.
Probably should not have said that.
But
my staff will deal with that later.
Yeah.
Well, it's easier to be a parent this morning. It's easier to be a dad. It's easier to tell your kids character matters. It matters. Telling the truth matters. Being a good person matters. And it's easier for a whole lot of people. If you're Muslim in this country, you don't have to worry if the president doesn't want you here. If you're an immigrant, you don't have to worry if the president's going to be happier to have babies snatched away or send dreamers back for no reason.
We have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke. Yeah.
There's no point in saying good morning, because it certainly is not one.
To be continued.